This is part 2 of the Unit 1 exam from June 2014. We're going to look at section B now. This is the largest section. You've got to spend your 45 minutes on this. Remember, finish section A at 30 minutes. If you don't finish all the questions, move on to this bit and go back at the end. There are more marks in this section. It is silly to spend too long on the first section when it's only worth 32 marks, when this one is worth 38. So this case study is all about Marvin. I assume that's Marvin. He is Mr. Motivator. He runs his own fitness-based company, and he's thinking of doing this fitness retreat. Well, he started doing it basically. So fitness retreat, goes to a really nice house for the weekend, gets people fit, that type of thing. Okay, for 4 or 7 days. So you read the case study. That's a minute or so. You don't have to read it in a huge amount of detail to start with, because you're going to keep going back to it and search for answers as you go along, but definitely give it a skim read just to get into that mindset. Remember, all the answers have to be related to the case study. So question 9a, analyze one reason why Advanced Conditioning Limited might experience an increase in sales volume. So starting off, sales volume, let's give a definition: the amount of sales that a business has, the level of sales that it has. Why would sales volume increase? Because demand has gone up. So it's basically saying, why has demand gone up? Well, because as it says in the case study, Marvin is very good at his job, therefore his customers are very happy. Therefore this leads to customer loyalty. If you have customers who are happy, they're likely to come back for repeat purchases, thus pushing up your sales volume. That's your point. Only wants one reason. You could have also said, again, because he gives good service, the customers who are happy will go and tell their friends and family. Word of mouth advertising, that helps other people to learn about his business, and then he will have more customers as well. Very easy. It's only 3 marks. So you just explain sales volume, say what could have happened to increase demand, make sure you link it to the case study. That's it. That's all you need to do. That's 9a. 9b, analyze one reason why the business might experience an increase in variable costs. Right, again, just start with a definition. Variable costs are costs that change based on the level of output. So they're costs related specifically to the production process, or in this case, the service that he's offering. So why would your variable costs go up? Well, you could link it to the case study in terms of, as he is becoming more popular, his sales volume is going up. He is going to need to hire more gym areas because he will have more classes. He doesn't own his own gym. He hires it from Virgin Active, I think it says. So he's going to have to hire out those rooms more often because he's got higher sales. Therefore, his variable costs go up. Or he's going to have to hire out those manor houses that they go away for the weekend more often if he has more customers. So as he becomes more popular, basically his costs are going to go up. And in this case, the costs are specifically about hiring out the places or paying the chefs that he has that will come to these fitness retreats. So as long as you apply it specifically to the case study, if you just say his costs will go up because he has more sales, that's not relevant to this specific case study. It has to be related to the case study in some way. Question 10, 4 marks. It still just explains, so we don't need any evaluation at this point. Explain one reason why it might be necessary for him to prepare a business plan. Okay, business plan, start off with a definition, is a document created by a business that contains information about its finances, its marketing strategies, its aims and objectives. It's a plan that shows a business what could be happening in the future. Why would it be good for Marvin to prepare a business plan? Because it is important for an owner of a company such as Marvin, for an entrepreneur, to have a clear idea of their aims and objectives, where the business is going. That's one reason. Another reason you could have said is because part of the business plan contains financial information, and it shows Marvin his incomes, his inflows and outflows, his revenue and his costs. And if he is looking to expand his business, he can look at his business plan, at the financial information, to see if he will be able to afford to expand, to offer more services, take on more clients, take on more workers, for example. So either of those. You could use the one that a lot of people like to use about using a business plan, because you might want to secure a loan at some point in the future. But I don't know if that's specifically relevant here. I don't think in the case study that it actually says he's looking to get a loan. So I'd kind of avoid the loan one, just because it's not really relevant to this. It doesn't say anything about him wanting to get a loan. So I'd steer away from that. Question 11. Go straight into these evaluation ones now. Evaluate the likely value of product trials for fitness retreat. Right, start with the definition. Product trials is when a business tests out its product to a small part of its consumers. They allow a sample of your consumers to try out the product, but that's not the whole definition. So saying that you allow some of your customers to try out a new product is half of it. The second part of it is, and then take feedback from that and modify the product based on the feedback. So in this case, what would that be? Well, he would be inviting customers to come away for the retreat for the weekend, getting their feedback on that, and then modifying the retreat based on the feedback. So he might ask them about what they thought of the food, or the manor house that they go to, or the activities that they do, and then he might change any of those, or the price. Could change that based on the feedback he gets from his customers. So that's about making it very relevant to the case study. You can't just say product trial is when a business tries out a product, gets the feedback. He might want to get feedback so he knows how to change his product. See, what if that was your answer? That's not related to fitness retreat in any way. When you give your answer in the exam, you have to think to yourself, if someone read this answer and they didn't know what the business was that the case study was about, would they be able to work it out? And if your answer is no, then you have not made it specific enough. I've seen a lot of answers that are just very general. They just talk about the business. He might want to change costs of the business. Well, what is the business? What are the specific costs that the business will have? In this case, we're talking about the chefs, the food, the manor house. If your answer is not that specific, you probably haven't thought about it enough. It has to be specific. Once you've given that, you need to give some sort of evaluation. So yes, it might be helpful to him to hold these product trials where people go away for a few days and he gets their feedback based on that. However, doing that is very expensive. That requires him to have to hire out these manor houses and bring these chefs to come and cook the food and stuff like that. It's very expensive for him to carry out these product trials. It's not like he sells jam and he can just go round door to door and just give out a few samples. This is a really expensive product that he's trialing. So your evaluation point could be, in order for him to run these product trials, it's going to cost him a lot of money, and it may not be worth the money that it will cost him to carry out these product trials. So maybe he should do some market research, but product trials may be too expensive. Maybe just questionnaires is better for him. Moving on to the next one, question 12. Assess means evaluate. So evaluate whether or not an increase in unemployment might affect Fitness Retreat Limited. Right, start with your definition. We can define unemployment. Unemployment is the level of people in the economy who are willing and able to work but currently do not have a job. When unemployment is high, this means that in general, you can't say everyone, but in general, consumers have less income. If consumers have less income, then they are less likely to buy luxury goods. So demand for luxury goods will go down. Fitness retreat is a luxury good. It is not a necessity. Therefore, as unemployment increases, consumers will spend less money on these luxury items such as fitness retreat. They will not look to spend a week going away at a manor house. If they want to stay fit, they are more likely to just go to a local gym or to just run around a park for free instead. So that gets you up to 6 marks. I've linked it specifically to the case study. I didn't just say income goes down, consumers will buy less luxury products, so his demand goes down. That's not specific enough. I couldn't tell what product you're talking about. So you've got to talk about gyms, how people will still want to keep fit, but they just won't want to go on the fitness retreat because that's a very specific type of keeping fit. Evaluation point. However, not everyone will be affected by unemployment increasing. If he has very rich clients, they may still have their jobs, therefore their income will stay the same and they will still want to go on his retreats. You could also evaluate by saying he has customer loyalty because he offers a good service, so customers may still be willing to pay for his service even if unemployment is going up and their income's gone down. You could also say that for some customers, going on one of these retreats they might deem as something that they still really want to do. It's a necessity because they care about their health a lot and they think that they get a lot of benefit from it. So any of those points, you pretty much only ever need 1 evaluation point for, even if it's an 8-mark question. The only time where you might look to give 2 evaluation points is they will sometimes have a 12-mark question at the end. And in that case, yes, you should probably look to give 2 analysis points and 2 evaluation points. Last question is either going to be a 12-marker or 2 6-markers put together. In this case, it's 2 6-markers. Evaluate the extent to which he might be affected by limited liability. Right, define. Limited liability is when a business, the debts of a business are... Okay, let's start again. Limited liability is when the debts of the business are only liable to the business itself. The owner of the business is not liable for all the debts of the business. The owner can only lose the money that they invested. They do not have to pay for all the debts themselves. They are not personally liable. Bit of a long-winded definition there, but you get the idea. How would he be affected by limited liability? If he had limited liability, it would be easier for him to encourage other people to invest in the business. He needs people like chefs. He may want to hire some shareholders, for example. With a limited liability, it would be easier for him to encourage people to own a part of the business because he has limited liability. Also, if he does have limited liability, it's less risk for him personally. So on a personal level, it will be better for him. However, evaluation point, if he did have limited liability in the future, if he's looking to get a bank loan, it may be more difficult for him to get a bank loan because banks don't really like to lend money to people with limited liability. That's why you've got to link it to the case study though and say he's currently not looking for a loan, but in the future, if he was, he would be affected by that. Government taxation policy, they've kept that very vague. There's a lot of different types of tax, so kind of you've got to choose what tax you think is relevant here. So let's go with income tax, because that's one of the taxes you could use. You could have used VAT, you could even use corporation tax, but I'm going to use income tax. If income tax increase, that means that a higher percentage of a consumer's income is given away as tax to the government. This means as income tax goes up, consumer income in general goes down. If consumers' income in general goes down, they are less likely to buy luxury products such as this fitness retreat service. Therefore, his demand for the product will go down and sales and revenue would go down as well. Evaluation point, however, he has loyalty from customers, and so even if they are paying higher income tax, they may still want to purchase his product anyway. Another evaluation point you could say is it depends. It just says changes in government tax policy. That means that actually income tax could go down. If it went down, that means that people would have more money, therefore demand for his product would go up. It also depends by how much it changes as well. That's the end of section B.